Housing in Guyana is very costly, with prices going up in more recent years. One would even argue that the cost for housing far outweighs the average wage. This means that low-income earning individuals could not afford to buy a house. But all is not doom and gloom. The PPPC administration, even before coming into office, promised Guyanese affordable housing. And less than a year into office, the government has kept its promise. The government is providing several opportunities for Guyanese to own their own home at affordable cost.
President Dr. Mohamed Irfan Ali is very passionate about the housing sector. His vision extends way beyond just providing a piece of land to Guyanese. Instead, the president and his cabinet is working to ensure that families at all income levels have access to safe, decent, and affordable housing.
And all of this leads to dignity, national dignity. When people have a stronger belief in themselves, there is nothing more empowering than owning your own home. When you're very young, you always dream of turning your own keys.
Coming into office in August 2020, the new government quickly embarked on its massive housing program to benefit every single Guyanese who attained the age of adulthood. Being executed through the Ministry of Housing and Water's Central Housing and Planning Authority, the initiative is being led by Ministers Colin Crowell and Susan Rodriguez, who have been on the ground guiding the rollout of the ambitious but realistic housing program.
Our policy is to be that bridge for all categories of persons who would like to benefit from both our housing and house lot program. You will find there are various categories, for example, low, moderate, middle, high, young professionals. And so from that, we provide that avenue for persons who would like to own their own home, who would like to have that opportunity to start their own family, have their own space. And so this is part of what we do as a facilitator as a government.
We've said from the inception that our focus at the Ministry of Housing is on home ownership. We want to avoid a pattern that had taken place over the previous decades, and that is low occupancy in our housing schemes. And so therefore, we are driving the housing construction. Encourage people to, instead of just receiving an allocation for their land, they have the opportunity to own their own home. So home ownership is our focus, and so hence we are driving the construction industry and the construction of homes, especially for low-income earners.
Let's explore the term affordable housing. Affordable housing is housing that a household can pay for, that a family or person can steadily maintain while being able to manage other expenses such as food, clothing, and other basic necessities. For example, a single parent who earns $100,000 per month. For this mom or dad, purchasing their own home in the city is far from reality, simply out of reach. However, with the PPPC government housing program, this quest is no longer out of reach for mom or dad. Here is financial analyst Joel Bagwandin, who explains exactly how mom or dad will be able to secure an affordable roof over their heads under the government's new housing program.
For a low-income person, in the example you gave, a single mother earning, let's say $100,000, wherein she has other expenses. And if you're saying that the lowest low-income housing that the government is working to deliver is 5 million or 5.3, then an installment for about 25 years for that amount alone work out to about $25,000 to $30,000 which is in line to a low-income rent, a low-income person rent. What it means for that person is, one, it would be affordable, right? The installment will not be excessive. It's about 25% of the income. Let's use the 100,000 scenario. At the end, when she finished paying that loan for 25 years, instead of paying a rent to somebody else, that's her property. And as she reduces the principal payment on that loan while paying the loan, remember the value of the property, as I explained earlier, would increase. She has the opportunity to leverage that piece of asset, which is her own home, to enhance her living standard.
Let us look at middle-income housing now. Under the administration's housing initiative, a middle-income family who is paying $150,000 rent can now access a property with a significantly lower mortgage rate.
Let's say a person wants to borrow or to purchase the $20 million homes and he's paying $150K rent. You need 15% equity. 15% equity of $20 million is about $3 million. So you borrow $17 million from the bank. Now you have up to 25 years to repay the loan. Now the installment that you're going to pay the bank, when I work the numbers, is less than what you're going to pay for the rent. So for that $150K example, you're saving about $30,000 a month. If you annualize that $30,000, you're saving, for the whole life of the loan, you could save about $9.3 million over the 25 years. Okay, that's half of the value of the property.
Let's now look at some of the homes being constructed by the government targeting low, moderate, and middle-income families. The Central Housing and Planning Authority is constructing houses for sale in several communities along the East Bank, Demerara, and Greater Georgetown. Currently, over 200 low-income homes are under construction in Prospect on the East Bank, Demerara. These houses measure 600 square foot and carries a total cost of $5.5 million, inclusive of the cost of the land, which is $300,000. Further, the 1,000 homes project slated for Little Diamond and Great Diamond will bring the government closer to achieving its goals of making homes affordable to low-income families. The construction of these homes is scheduled to commence during the first quarter of 2022. For the moderate income families, 2-bedroom elevated homes are being constructed in Cummins Lodge, Greater Georgetown.
These homes are in great demand. As I was saying earlier, we are in the process of building 157. Of this 157, 80% have already been allocated, already had loans approved at the bank. And so that shows you demand, and we have demand far more that exceeds what we have. What we did, we went into the system and identified persons who would have expressed interest in the past in these type of units. We went to them first to find out if they were still interested. Those who were, we accommodated them. We then went to persons who were in the system a long time, waiting for houses, and give them this as an alternative. Instead of an house, do you wish one of the turnkey houses? And those who express that interest, we accommodated them.
Another 100 homes will be built in the second phase of the project, which will commence shortly.
We've already started the preparatory works for those 100. In terms of the infrastructure work, as you can see, we're putting in all the roads, all the drainage, all the lights, water. There'll be recreational facilities. We hope to have a nursery school in the area, a play school, a health center, all the amenities that comes with a full community. We're not only just building houses or giving out houses. We want to create communities, and all these amenities comes with a community.
Similar homes are being constructed in the mining town of Linden Region 10, targeting young professionals. CHNPA has started the construction of the first 40 homes in the Amelia's Ward area. At Providence on the East Bank, a number of young professional homes are being constructed. These homes come in two different styles, the single flat and the two-story units. The single flat 3-bedroom units will be sold at a price of $13.9 million, inclusive of the cost of the land, which is $1 million. The second option, the two-story 3-bedroom units, carries a price of $19.9 million, inclusive of the cost of the land, which is $1 million. The government, in keeping with its policy of inclusivity, has also catered for the construction of 200 homes at Hampshire and Ordnance Fortlands, Region 6, and 100 homes at Anna Katerina, Cornelia Ida, Edinburgh, and Mettemarsburg, Region 3. But that's not all. For those less fortunate persons who are unable to access a bank loan due to circumstances have also been thought about. Special provisions have been made. Through the Inter-American Development Bank funded Adequate Housing and Urban Accessibility Program, 100 core homes will be constructed at Parfait Harmony, West Bank Demerara, and Sapphire, Greater Georgetown.
Right in this Sapphire area, we recently got approval to build 50 of those core homes. So those will be starting in the next month. We're doing 25 have started in Parfait Harmony, and a further 25 will start soon. We will be going out next month, the first of next month, with applications for persons who are interested in the core room as well as the $500,000 subsidy. In fact, this program is so important to us that we have moved that entire department to the CIMA building on Camp Street to accommodate this program. The vulnerable persons in society, disabled persons who can't afford to build a house on there, who will find it difficult also to get a loan from the bank. And those are the persons we are targeting.
For vulnerable persons within those communities who already have homes that need remodeling, a $500,000 subsidy has been provided to them. Now, with these new homes and creation of new housing schemes, this of course means that new roads and bridges would need to be created and or upgraded. One such road is the alternative East Bank Demerara Road, which is currently under construction.
Because of more lands becoming available, as we are able to have infrastructure work done for road connectivity, it allows the opening of new lands, and as new lands open up, it also allows us for a housing program. And so on the East Bank, you will find where we've constructed a road historically that part, it was considered the back off of the public road. And so initially the thinking was that, the low income were there. Those areas, those lands are actually prime, and they're considered now the front because they can now access quickly the ingress and egress to Georgetown.
Government has implemented several measures that will allow prospective beneficiaries to have easy access to loans to purchase these homes.
Some of the things that we did very early in our government was to zero rate building and construction materials, especially those that are locally made. So we wanted to encourage people to build, we wanted to make it more affordable for them to build. We also immediately engaged the banks, and we negotiated with NBS, and they were able to lower interest rates to 4% for low-income earners. We also facilitated the raising of the low-income threshold, the loan threshold, from $4 to $6 million, giving low-income earners more scope and so that they can borrow more and build a better home. We also raised the mortgage interest relief ceiling from $15 million to $30 million, so that people who have their mortgages can have some relief.
The government has been steadfast in its quest to ensure families have access to decent and affordable homes, determined to create wholesome and sustainable communities.
You will find raising the standard of living, you'll find a different environment, and so you'll find wholesome communities. communities where new families will start up, communities where you'll have new establishment. And so East Bank, where we are now as an example, and this is going to have a multiplying effect across our country. East Bank in itself, the transformation that is taking place here on East Bank, in a few years, you will wonder for yourself how quickly we have moved. And so we have moved already. You have a number of areas that have been cleared. Their infrastructure work is ongoing. So by the end of this year, you have thousands of persons who will be able to move in. For example, in Great Diamond, Little Diamond, they will be able to move into their lot and start their own building, which complements our housing program we have where we are building the houses.
Affordable homes can also help to mitigate squatting and curb unlawful activities within the housing sector, Minister Rodriguez says.
Those persons who are occupying lands illegally, and we have to relocate. We want to bring them into communities like these and move them into low-income homes, because we're taking them out of a shelter that they already have. And we have to put them in a place that is safe. We have to put them in a place, where they can live comfortably and they can have security.
Affordable homes can also create generational wealth.
The ability for a person or a family as a collective to own their own home is a basic essential. In the sense, it gives a sense of comfort, it offers a sense of security, and also it enhances from commercial or from a net worth standpoint, it enhances your wealth, your assets, which you can then leverage the value of that property to borrow in the future, like borrow against the value for whether it's an entrepreneurial endeavor, whether you want to invest in a business, whether you already have a business, but you need asset to expand your venture. It gives you that ability, which in turn enhances your overall wealth and net worth, in turn your standard of living, in turn your comfort. It gives you financial flexibility, financial freedom, and all of that, right? All of that just because you could leverage the value of that asset.
Here is a closer look at how affordable housing programs, like the one implemented by the government, can impact the economy.
What it means for the economy, if we take 50,000 homes at an average, the average cost per home, let's say $17 million. If you do the math and you multiply 17 million by 50,000, that's some $875 billion, close to $1 trillion, that we can expect is going to be injected into this economy over the next 5 years. That's close to 60% of today's GDP.
A huge economic impact of affordable housing is the number of jobs that are created during the construction phase and even after.
Let us consider the economic impact of building a new house. The need for building materials, transportation, drivers, porters. Immediately, all these people can access employment. And this continues as the contractor would also need to hire other skilled workers. The chain reaction does not stop there, as the banking sector can also benefit as persons are likely to seek loans. Further, as these communities expand and develop, merchants will want to establish their businesses.
So the lending in that sector, in the banking sector, would increase. So that means increased lending and in turn increase profit for the banks. In so doing as well, the banks would have more and more hundreds of loan applications increasing. That means they have to build capacity. So in so doing, they need to expand their workforce as well. And based on where development is going to take place, for example, if you look at in the past, we have seen what housing development has done for this country predominantly. If you could recall, many years ago, the Diamond area, the Diamond Housing Scheme, which is very developed now with supermarkets, banks and security, hospitals and schools, that piece of place was a swamp where those banks were. So development happens like this. When you're developing a community, it's an entire ecosystem. So housing means you're gonna have small businesses, you're gonna have supermarkets, you're gonna have pharmacies, you're gonna have need for security, police station, fire, schools. Then as these communities develop, you're gonna have banks that are gonna extend branches as well.
In keeping with its manifesto, the PPPC government is committed to delivering 50,000 house lots, 10,000 annually to Guyanese within its first term in office. This will be done through the distribution of house lots and the construction of homes for lower to middle income families.
This has been part one of a short documentary where we highlight the government's affordable housing program. In part two, we will look at how citizens are benefiting from the allocation of these homes.